Have you ever wondered, after seeing the beautiful colors of butterflies? Welcome to your channel, ADP for Learning. I am Aashish Katyal. Today, we will dive into this amazing topic of the beautiful colors of butterflies and explore the genetic reasons behind them. Butterfly wings come in a fantastic assortment of colors and patterns. Aside from being beautiful, they also serve a purpose. They can help butterflies find a mate, blend in with their surroundings, or absorb heat. In toxic species, bright colors warn predators to stay away. In this video, we will learn what makes these colors and what genes have to do with them. Let's start with the wing color. As you can see in the figure, butterfly wings are covered in tiny scales, each with a specific shape and color. The colors in butterfly wings can come from either colored pigments or structural color, or even a combination of the two. Colored pigments work the way you're probably used to thinking about. Like the pigments in crayons or colored pencils, the molecules themselves have a specific color. Instead of absorbing most colors of light, they reflect others, and we perceive the reflected light as color. There are some common pigment types in butterfly wings that butterflies produce. For instance, pigment types of melanin give gray, black, and brown colors. These pigments are common in many animals, where they color hair, fur, feathers, and skin. In butterflies, they can help absorb heat from sunlight. Another pigment example is Ommachrome, which gives colors like red, orange, and tan. These pigments are common in insects. Outside of butterflies, they usually color their eyes. Another important pigment example is Papiliochrome, which gives yellow and creme colors. Some of these pigments also make patterns in the ultraviolet light range. These patterns are visible to butterflies but not to humans. The last example of pigment is Pterin, which gives an orange color. Butterflies in the Pterin family use these pigments, rather than Ommachromes, to make oranges. In varying amounts or densities, each of these pigment types can make colors that are more or less intense. Blues come from structural pigments. The molecules themselves are black, not blue, but their shape at the microscopic level makes them reflect blue light. This gives them an iridescent or metallic quality. Depending on the angle and intensity of the light, they can look black or bright blue. White is another structural color in butterflies. Usually, it comes from microscopic air bubbles that reflect light. Structural color is also common in bird feathers. All these pigments and structures are built by proteins. Groups of proteins work like assembly lines, turning raw materials into richly colored molecules. The instructions for making the proteins are coded in genes. Differences in genes can cause differences in proteins, which can affect the qualities of a pigment that the protein helps to build, like its color or intensity. Now let's move on to the second feature of the wing pattern in butterflies. As shown in the figure, variations in just a handful of genes can produce varied wing patterns, like the ones in these butterflies from the Heliconius genus. Some genes act like paintbrushes, applying colors to different parts of the wing. Within each butterfly family, there are 3 major ones, and all the species use the same basic set of genes to build pigments. Another set of genes controls where these pigment-making assembly lines or pathways are active. They can switch entire pathways on or off. Different alleles of these control genes can cause pigments to be made in different places on the wing. Small changes in when and where these control genes are active can produce dramatic differences. In fact, the broad diversity in butterfly wing colors and patterns comes from differences in a surprisingly small number of genes. In short, we can say that a few genes can have big effects on butterflies. For example, the nymphalid butterfly family is known for its bright colors and diverse patterns. Scientists studying these species have found that much of their diversity comes from differences in just 4 genes, namely optics, cortex, arystalis, and WNTA. Let's briefly understand each of the 4 genes one by one, and I promise I will not take much time. Starting with optics, which is known for producing large spots of colors and long, thin ray patterns. This gene works like a control switch to affect multiple pigment production pathways at once. In places where optics is active, Ommachrome production is switched on, giving red, orange, and tan colors, while melanin production is switched off, which might give black and gray colors. In some species, optics is also involved in structural blue color, which is built from black melanin pigments. The second gene, cortex, affects black pigment patterns in some species and white and yellow in others. It may work by affecting how quickly the cells that make scales mature. Black scales usually mature more slowly than others. The third gene, iridescent, affects switching between yellow and white patterns. It often produces bands on the forewings and hindwings or spots on the bottom edge of the hindwings. Lastly, the fourth gene, WNTA, fine-tunes the size and shape of spots and stripes that are laid down by optics and cortex. Some butterfly species are known for their brilliant eye spots. These colorful targets can either scare predators or draw their attention away from vital organs. Two genes, SPALT and distalis, are active in the centers of many eye spots. Other butterfly families use different sets of control genes, but in a similar way. Genes like the ones described here allow for great flexibility and rapid shifts within species. For its patterns to shift, a population doesn't need new color-building or pattern-making genes to arise from scratch. Instead, small changes to existing genes can make new patterns with nearly endless variations. Thank you for joining me on this amazing journey of learning. In the future, we will meet again with new innovative topics. Meanwhile, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to your own channel, ADP for Learning.